My name is Helen Martinez, and I'm 78 years old. Last Tuesday afternoon, I tried to call my daughter Jessica to tell her I'd been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and had 6 months to live. The phone rang once, then I heard a recorded message. The number you have dialed is no longer in service. I tried again, same message. My daughter had changed her number, and she hadn't told me. That's when I realized my only child, the daughter I'd raised alone after her father died, the daughter I'd sacrificed everything for, had cut me out of her life so completely that she didn't even want me to be able to call her. So I did something she never expected. I went to my lawyer's office and changed my will. Every single penny of my estate, my house, my savings, my investments, everything worth over $800,000, I left to someone else. And when Jessica found out, the aftermath was something I never could have imagined. Let me tell you how we got here. Let me tell you about the daughter I raised and the stranger she became. Before we continue this story and find out what happened when Jessica discovered she'd been cut out of the will, make sure you subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that like button and turn on notifications because this story is going to take you on an emotional roller coaster. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from: United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Australia, Philippines. Let me know who's with me on this journey. Now let's get back to Helen's story. To understand why my daughter changed her number, I need to take you back 6 months, back to when things started falling apart between us. 6 months ago, I was still living in my house, a 3-bedroom home I'd owned for 40 years. It was the house where I'd raised Jessica, where we'd celebrated birthdays and Christmases, where we'd cried together after her father died when she was 12, where we'd laughed and fought and made up and lived as a family. I loved that house. It held every memory of my life. Jessica had been visiting regularly back then. She'd come by every few weeks, usually on Sundays. We'd have lunch together. We'd talk about her job, her life, and her friends. But 6 months ago, something changed. Jessica came over one Sunday with a serious expression on her face. She sat me down at the kitchen table. "Mom, we need to talk about your future," Jessica said. "My future?" I asked. "What about it?" "You're 78 years old," Jessica said. "You're living alone in this big house. What if something happens to you? What if you fall and can't get help?" "I'm fine," I said. "I'm healthy, I take care of myself." "But you won't always be fine," Jessica insisted. "Mom, I've been thinking. I think it's time for you to sell this house and move into a senior living community." "A senior living community," I repeated. "You mean like a nursing home?" "Not a nursing home," Jessica said quickly. "An independent living facility, a place with other seniors, activities, staff on site in case you need help. It would be safer." "I don't want to move," I said firmly. "This is my home." "Mom, be realistic," Jessica said. "This house is too big for you. The maintenance alone must be exhausting. And what about the equity? You could sell this house for at least $400,000. You could use that money to pay for a nice apartment in a senior community." "I don't need to sell my house," I said. "I'm happy here." "But think about it logically," Jessica pressed. "You're not getting any younger. What if your health declines? What if you need expensive care? Selling the house now while you're healthy makes sense." "Jessica, I don't want to talk about this anymore," I said, starting to feel annoyed. "This is my house and I'm not selling it." Jessica sighed. "Mom, you're being stubborn. I'm just trying to help you plan for your future." "I don't need your help with my future," I said. "I'm perfectly capable of making my own decisions." "Are you?" Jessica asked. "Because from where I'm sitting, you're making decisions based on emotion instead of logic." That hurt. "I think you should leave," I said quietly. "Fine," Jessica said, standing up. "But Mom, think about what I said. I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to look out for you." After she left, I sat at my kitchen table feeling unsettled. Why was Jessica suddenly so interested in me selling my house? Why was she pushing so hard? Over the next month, Jessica brought up selling the house every time she visited. Every single conversation eventually turned to my future and why I should sell my house. Mom, I found this great senior community. It has a pool and organized activities. Want to go look at it? Mom, your neighbor Mrs. Chen just sold her house and moved to a retirement village. She loves it. Maybe you should consider it too. Mom, this house is just going to keep needing repairs. Wouldn't it be easier to let someone else handle maintenance? Every visit, the same pressure. Every conversation, the same agenda. Finally, one day in frustration, I asked her directly, Jessica, why are you so determined for me to sell my house? She hesitated. Then she said, because I worry about you, Mom. Living alone at your age isn't safe. That's the only reason, I asked. What other reason would there be? Jessica said defensively. But I had a feeling there was more to it, something she wasn't telling me. A few weeks later, I got my answer. Jessica came over with her husband Brandon. They both had serious expressions. Mom, we have something to tell you, Jessica said as we sat in the living room. What is it? I asked, suddenly nervous. Brandon and I are having some financial difficulties, Jessica said. We made some bad investments. We're in significant debt. How much debt? I asked. Jessica and Brandon looked at each other. About $150,000, Brandon finally said. I was shocked. $150,000. How did you accumulate that much debt? We invested in a business opportunity that didn't work out, Brandon said. And we have credit cards, car payments, the mortgage on our house. It all adds up. We're struggling, Mom, Jessica said. We're barely making minimum payments. We're drowning. I'm sorry to hear that, I said. But what does this have to do with me? Jessica took a deep breath. We need help. We need about $100,000 to pay off the high-interest debts and get back on our feet. I stared at her. You're asking me for $100,000. Not asking, Jessica said quickly. We're proposing a solution. You sell your house. You don't need a house this big anyway. You sell it for $400,000, use $100,000 to help us, and you still have $300,000 left for yourself. You could live comfortably in a nice senior apartment with that money. So that was it. That's why she'd been pushing me to sell my house. She wanted my money. No, I said. No, Jessica repeated. Mom, we're your family. We need your help. I'm sorry you're in debt, I said. But I'm not selling my house to bail you out of bad financial decisions. Bad financial decisions, Jessica said, her voice rising. Mom, everyone makes investments. Sometimes they don't work out. That doesn't mean we deserve to lose everything. I'm not saying you deserve to lose everything, I said. I'm saying I'm not selling my house. This is my home. I've told you that repeatedly. So you're just going to watch your daughter and her husband lose everything? Jessica asked. You're going to let us go bankrupt. You're adults, I said. You made these financial decisions. You need to deal with the consequences. I didn't create your debt. I'm not responsible for fixing it. You have the money, Jessica shouted. You're sitting on hundreds of thousands of dollars in home equity. What are you even saving it for? You're 78 years old. You're going to die with all this money and it won't even matter. Her words hit me like a slap. Get out, I said quietly. Mom. Get out of my house, I said louder this time. Both of you now. They left. Jessica didn't apologize. She didn't take back what she'd said. She just left. After that fight, Jessica stopped visiting. At first, I thought she just needed time to cool off. I called her a few times, but she didn't answer. I left voicemails asking her to call me back. She never did. Weeks passed. Then a month I tried calling again. This time she answered. What do you want, Mom? Jessica said coldly. I want to talk to you, I said. I want to fix this. I don't like us being angry at each other. There's nothing to fix unless you're willing to help us, Jessica said. Jessica, I'm not selling my house, I said. But maybe there's something else I can do. Maybe I could loan you a smaller amount. We don't need a loan, Jessica interrupted. We need real help. We need $100,000. If you're not willing to give us that, then there's nothing to talk about. Jessica, that's not fair, I said. You can't give me an ultimatum like that. I'm not giving you an ultimatum, Jessica said. I'm telling you what we need. You're choosing not to help. That's your decision. But don't expect me to pretend everything is fine when you're letting your only daughter struggle when you could help. I'm not letting you struggle, I protested. I'm just not willing to sell my house. I have to go, Jessica said. I don't want to have this conversation anymore. She hung up. That was the last real conversation I had with my daughter. Over the next few weeks, I tried calling Jessica several more times. Sometimes she'd answer, and the conversation would be brief and cold. Most of the time, she wouldn't answer at all. I tried texting her. She'd respond occasionally, but her responses were short. 1 or 2 words, no warmth. How are you? Fine. I miss you. Okay. Can we talk? Busy. She was cutting me off. Slowly but surely, she was removing me from her life. I tried calling her husband Brandon, hoping he might be more reasonable. His phone went straight to voicemail. He never called back. I sent Jessica an email, pouring out my heart, telling her I loved her, telling her I wanted to fix our relationship, asking her to please talk to me. She never responded. I even drove to her house one afternoon. I knocked on the door. No one answered, even though I could see her car in the driveway. She was home. She just didn't want to see me. I stood on her porch, knocking, calling her name, begging her to open the door. Nothing. I drove home in tears. My only child was shutting me out because I wouldn't sell my house to give her money. 1 month ago, I tried calling Jessica on her birthday. I wanted to wish her happy birthday. I wanted to hear her voice. The phone rang and rang. No answer. I left a voicemail. Hi, sweetheart, it's Mom. Happy birthday. I know things are difficult between us right now, but I'm still your mother and I still love you. Please call me back. I miss you so much. She never called back. A week later, I tried again. Just a regular call, just wanting to check on her. The phone rang once, then I heard a message. The number you have dialed is no longer in service. I tried again, same message. I tried Brandon's number, also no longer in service. They'd both changed their numbers, and they hadn't told me what the new numbers were. I sat in my living room, holding my phone, crying. My daughter had cut me off so completely that I couldn't even call her anymore. That's when I knew. She didn't just want my money. She didn't want me in her life at all unless I gave her what she wanted. And that's when I made my decision. Last Tuesday, I had a doctor's appointment. I'd been feeling tired lately, having some pain. I thought it was just age catching up with me. But my doctor ran some tests, and then she called me into her office with results that changed everything. Helen, I'm so sorry, Dr. Reynolds said. The tests show you have stage 4 pancreatic cancer. I felt the world tilt. Cancer. It's advanced, Dr. Reynolds said gently. It's spread to your liver and lungs. At this stage, treatment options are limited. We can do chemotherapy to try to extend your life and improve your quality of life, but... How long? I asked. 6 to 8 months, Dr. Reynolds said quietly. I'm very sorry. I sat in that office, processing. 6 to 8 months, less than a year left to live. My first thought was, I need to tell Jessica. My second thought was, I can't. She changed her number. I drove home in a daze. When I got there, I sat in my car in the driveway for 20 minutes, staring at my house. This house, the house Jessica wanted me to sell, the house I'd refused to sell. And now I was dying, and my daughter didn't even want to talk to me. I went inside and tried to figure out how to contact Jessica. I didn't have her new number. I didn't have Brandon's new number. I could drive to her house, but she'd ignored me last time I went there. She probably wouldn't answer the door. I could send an email, but she hadn't responded to my last email. I could send a letter, but would she even read it? And then I thought, why should I have to beg my own daughter to let me tell her I'm dying? Why should I have to chase down someone who deliberately cut me out of her life? If Jessica didn't want to be part of my life, then maybe she didn't deserve to be part of my death either. or part of my inheritance. The next day, I called my lawyer, Robert Patterson. I'd used him for years. He'd handled my will, my estate planning, various legal matters. "Robert, I need to change my will," I said. "Of course, Helen," Robert said. "What changes do you want to make?" "I want to remove my daughter Jessica as my beneficiary," I said. "I want to leave everything to someone else." There was a pause. "Helen, that's a significant change. Are you sure?" "I'm completely sure," I said. "Can I ask why?" Robert said carefully. I told him everything. About Jessica pressuring me to sell my house. About her asking for $100,000. About her cutting me off when I refused. About her changing her number so I couldn't contact her. And I told him about my cancer diagnosis. "I'm dying, Robert," I said. "I have 6 months, and my daughter doesn't even want to talk to me because I won't give her money, so why should I leave her anything?" "I understand," Robert said quietly. "Who would you like to name as your beneficiary instead?" I'd been thinking about this all night. My nephew Carlos, he's always been kind to me. He visits regularly. He calls to check on me. He's been more of a child to me than Jessica has been lately. Carlos was my late sister's son. He was 40 years old, married with 2 children. He'd always made time for me, even though I wasn't his mother. He'd come by to help with yard work. He'd take me to doctor's appointments if I needed a ride. He'd call me on holidays and birthdays. He treated me like family, unlike my actual daughter. "I'll draw up the paperwork," Robert said. "Helen, I have to ask one more time, are you absolutely certain? Once Jessica finds out she's been disinherited, there's no going back from that." "I'm certain," I said. "Let Jessica find out the same way I found out about her new phone number, after it's too late to change anything." 2 days later, I went to Robert's office and signed my new will. Everything. My house, my savings account with $180,000, my investment accounts with another $220,000, my life insurance policy worth $50,000, all of it, went to Carlos. Jessica got nothing. And I didn't feel guilty at all. After I changed my will, I decided Carlos should know. He deserved to know what I'd done and why. I invited him over for coffee. When he arrived, I sat him down and told him everything. About Jessica, about the cancer, about the will. "Aunt Helen, I don't know what to say," Carlos said, looking shocked. "I mean, I'm grateful, but are you sure Jessica is your daughter?" "A daughter who cut me out of her life," I said. "Carlos, I'm not doing this to punish Jessica. I'm doing this because you've been there for me. You've treated me with love and respect. You've earned this." "But what about Jessica?" Carlos asked. "Won't she be devastated?" "Jessica made her choice," I said. "She chose money over our relationship. She can live with the consequences." "Have you tried to tell her about the cancer?" Carlos asked. "I can't," I said. "She changed her number and didn't tell me. I have no way to reach her." Carlos was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Aunt Helen, I have Jessica's new number. Do you want it?" My heart jumped. "You have it how?" "She's my cousin," Carlos said. "We're Facebook friends. I messaged her a few months ago about something and she gave me her new number. I didn't realize she hadn't given it to you." He pulled out his phone and showed me Jessica's new number. I stared at it. I could call her right now. I could tell her about the cancer. I could try to fix things. But then I thought about how she'd cut me off, how she'd demanded $100,000, how she'd made our relationship conditional on me giving her money. "No," I said, "I don't want it." "Are you sure?" Carlos asked. "Aunt Helen, you're dying. Don't you want to try to make peace with your daughter?" "If she wanted peace, she wouldn't have changed her number," I said. "If she cared about me, she would have found a way to stay in contact. Carlos, I'm tired of chasing someone who doesn't want to be caught." "What happens when she finds out about the will?" Carlos asked. "She's going to be furious." "Let her be furious," I said. "By then, I'll be dead. I won't have to deal with it." But I was wrong about that. Because 3 days ago, something happened that I never expected. Something that forced me to face my daughter one more time. And what happened in that confrontation would change everything. make sure you're subscribed. Hit that like button and turn on notifications. Comment below. Where are you watching from? 3 days ago, I was sitting in my living room reading a book when I heard a car pull into my driveway. I looked out the window and my heart sank. It was Jessica's car. She got out and she wasn't alone. Brandon was with her. They both marched up to my front door with determined expressions on their faces. Before I could even decide whether to answer, Jessica used her old key. I'd never thought to ask for it back, and let herself in. "Mom, we need to talk," Jessica said, walking into my living room without even saying hello. "You can't just walk into my house uninvited," I said, standing up. "It's still my key," Jessica said, "and we need to talk now." Brandon closed the door behind them. They both stood in my living room with their arms crossed, looking at me like I was the one who'd done something wrong. "What do you want?" I asked, my voice cold. "Carlos called me," Jessica said. "He told me about your cancer. Why didn't you tell me?" So Carlos had told her. I felt a flash of anger, but I also understood why he'd done it. He'd felt guilty keeping the secret. "How was I supposed to tell you?" I asked. "You changed your number and didn't give me the new one." "You could have driven to my house," Jessica said. "You could have sent a letter. You could have found a way if you actually wanted to reach me." "I did drive to your house," I said. "You wouldn't answer the door even though I knew you were home. You were avoiding me." "Because you refused to help us when we needed you," Jessica said, her voice rising. "I refused to sell my house to give you money," I corrected. "That's not the same as refusing to help." "It's exactly the same," Jessica shouted. "We came to you in desperate need and you turned your back on us." "You gave me an ultimatum," I said. "You told me that unless I gave you $100,000, you didn't want a relationship with me. You're the one who walked away, Jessica, not me." "Because you were being selfish," Jessica said. "Selfish," I repeated, feeling my own anger rising. "I worked my entire life for what I have. I raised you alone after your father died. I gave you everything. And now, because I won't sell my home to bail you out of debt you created, I'm selfish." "You're sitting on $800,000 and you won't help your own daughter," Jessica said. "Yes, that's selfish." "It's my money," I said. "I earned it, I saved it. Why do you think you're entitled to it?" "Because I'm your daughter," Jessica said. "Because family helps family." "Family doesn't cut off family and change their number," I shot back. "Family doesn't give ultimatums. Family doesn't make love conditional on money." We stood glaring at each other, both breathing hard. Brandon stepped forward. "Helen, let's all calm down. We came here because we're concerned about you." "Concerned about me?" I said. "You haven't been concerned about me for months. You've been concerned about my money." "That's not fair," Brandon said. "We're worried about you being sick and living alone. What if you need help? What if your condition worsens?" "Then I'll hire help," I said. "Or Carlos will help me. He's been visiting regularly, unlike you two." "Carlos told me something else," Jessica said, her eyes narrowing. "He said you changed your will. He said you cut me out. Is that true?" There it was, the real reason they'd come. Not to check on me, not to make amends, but to make sure they were still getting the inheritance. "Yes," I said. "I changed my will. You're no longer my beneficiary." Jessica's face went pale. "You what?" "You heard me," I said. "I left everything to Carlos." "You can't do that," Jessica said. "That's my inheritance. I'm your daughter." "And you're the daughter who cut me out of her life," I said. "Why should I leave you anything?" "Because I'm your child," Jessica screamed. "You're supposed to take care of me." "You're 45 years old," I said. "I did take care of you for the first 18 years of your life. After that, you're supposed to take care of yourself." "You can't cut me out of the will," Jessica said, her voice shaking. "Mom, please, we need that money. We're drowning in debt. If we don't get help, we're going to lose our house. We're going to lose everything." "Then you'll lose everything," I said. "Just like I'm losing you, just like I'm losing my life. We don't always get what we want, Jessica." "This is because I changed my number?" Jessica asked incredulously. You're disinheriting me because I changed my phone number. I'm disinheriting you because you made our relationship conditional on money, I said. Because you stopped treating me like your mother and started treating me like a bank account. Because you cut me out of your life when I wouldn't give you what you wanted. Mom, I was angry, Jessica said, tears starting to fall. I was stressed about our financial situation. I said things I didn't mean, but I never stopped loving you. You stopped showing it, I said. Love isn't just words, Jessica. It's actions. And your actions showed me that money was more important to you than I was. That's not true, Jessica said, crying harder now. Mom, please, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. But please don't do this. Don't cut me out of the will. We need that money. I need that money. And there it was again. Even now, even while apologizing, she was still focused on the money. I'm not changing the will, I said. My decision is final. Fine, Jessica said, wiping her tears and suddenly looking cold. Then I guess you'll die alone. If you're not going to leave me anything, then I have no reason to take care of you while you're sick. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. So that's it. You'll only be in my life if you get money. You made your choice, Jessica said. Now I'm making mine. Come on, Brandon, we're leaving. They walked to the door. Jessica stopped and turned back. I hope you're happy with your decision, Mom, she said. I hope Carlos is worth losing your only daughter over. They left, slamming the door behind them. I stood in my empty living room, shaking. Part of me wanted to run after them. Part of me wanted to take it all back. But the bigger part of me knew I'd made the right decision. Jessica had just proven exactly why I'd cut her out of the will. Even in that conversation, even while apologizing, she'd still made it all about the money. I sank into my chair and cried. For my daughter. For our broken relationship. For the fact that I was dying and my only child didn't really love me. She only loved what I could give her. The next morning, I woke up to an email from Jessica. It was long and detailed. I almost deleted it without reading, but something made me open it. Mom, I've been up all night thinking about our conversation. I'm not going to apologize for being upset about being cut out of the will. I think what you're doing is cruel and unfair. But I am sorry for how our relationship fell apart. I know I handled things badly. I know I shouldn't have given you an ultimatum about the money. I know I shouldn't have cut off contact when you said no. I was wrong about that. But Mom, you don't understand how desperate our situation is. Brandon and I are on the verge of bankruptcy. We're about to lose our house. We've already had to pull our credit counseling. We're drowning. When I asked you for help, it wasn't because I'm greedy or entitled. It was because I was desperate and you were the only person I could turn to. And when you said no, it felt like you were abandoning me when I needed you most. I reacted badly. I get that. But can't you see my perspective at all? And now you're dying. We should be spending your last months together. But instead, you're pushing me away and leaving everything to Carlos, who isn't even your child. If you change the will back, I promise I'll be there for you. I'll take care of you. I'll visit every day. We can rebuild our relationship. But I need to know that you still see me as your daughter, not just as someone who disappointed you. Please think about it. Jessica. I read the email 3 times, and every time I read it, I got angrier. She was still trying to make it conditional. If you change the will back, I'll be there for you. She couldn't just be there for me because I was her mother, because I was dying. She needed the promise of money to motivate her to care. I started typing a response, then I deleted it. I typed again, deleted again. Finally, I wrote, Jessica, thank you for your email, but I noticed that even in your apology, you're still making our relationship conditional on money. You're still saying, if you change the will back, then I'll be there for you. That's not how love works. That's not how family works. You asked me to see your perspective. Here's mine. I'm dying. I have 6 months left to live. And my daughter only wants to spend time with me if she's getting paid for it. If you want to be in my life, you're welcome. My door is open. But it has to be because you love me, not because you want your inheritance back. The will is not changing. Mom, I hit send before I could second-guess myself. Jessica didn't respond. Yesterday afternoon, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Helen Martinez, a man's voice said. Yes, who is this? My name is Stuart Mills. I'm an attorney. Your daughter Jessica has retained my services. My stomach dropped. Why does Jessica need a lawyer? Mrs. Martinez, I'm calling to inform you that my client is preparing to contest your will. She believes she has grounds to challenge your decision to disinherit her. On what grounds? I asked, my hands shaking. My client believes that you were not of sound mind when you made changes to your will, Mr. Mills said. She's prepared to argue that your cancer diagnosis and associated stress impaired your judgment. She's also prepared to argue that Carlos unduly influenced you to change the will in his favor. That's ridiculous, I said. I'm completely of sound mind, and Carlos didn't influence me at all. I made this decision on my own. That will be for a court to decide if it comes to that, Mr. Mills said. I'm calling as a professional courtesy to let you know what's coming. My client is also prepared to petition for guardianship over you, arguing that you're not capable of making sound decisions in your current state. Guardianship, I repeated, horror washing over me. She wants to take away my legal rights. Only to protect you, Mr. Mills said smoothly. If you're not capable of making sound decisions about your estate, someone needs to make those decisions for you. I'm perfectly capable, I said. Mr. Mills, let me be very clear. I am of sound mind. I made the decision to change my will deliberately and for good reasons. And if Jessica tries to contest it or take guardianship over me, I will fight her with every resource I have. I'll relay that to my client, Mr. Mills said. Have a good day, Mrs. Martinez. He hung up. I sat holding the phone, shaking with rage and fear. Jessica was going to try to have me declared incompetent. She was going to try to take away my rights so she could control my money. My daughter was willing to have me declared mentally unfit, just to get her inheritance. I immediately called Robert Patterson, my lawyer. Robert, Jessica just threatened to contest the will and petition for guardianship, I said, telling him about the call from Stuart Mills. Don't worry, Helen, Robert said. We can fight this, but I'm going to recommend something. I want you to get a competency evaluation from a psychiatrist. A professional opinion stating that you're of sound mind will be invaluable if Jessica tries to pursue this. Fine, I said. Set it up. I'm also going to recommend that you document everything, Robert continued. Every interaction with Jessica, every email, every phone call, everything. If this goes to court, we'll need to show the pattern of her behavior. What are my chances if she does contest? I asked. Good, Robert said. You're clearly competent. You made the decision for rational reasons. And there's no evidence of undue influence from Carlos. But Helen, I have to warn you, this is going to be ugly. Jessica is essentially going to argue in court that you're not mentally fit. That's going to be very painful. Let her try, I said. I won't let her bully me into changing my will. After I hung up with Robert, I sat in my house feeling more alone than I'd ever felt in my life. My daughter, my only child, was willing to drag me through court, to have me declared incompetent, to publicly humiliate me, all for money. This was what our relationship had come to. Last night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about everything that had happened, about how my relationship with Jessica had disintegrated, about how I was dying and my daughter was more concerned about her inheritance than about spending time with me. At 2 a.m., I got up and went to my computer. I pulled up old photos of Jessica, photos from when she was a baby, a toddler, a little girl. I looked at pictures from her childhood, me pushing her on a swing, her blowing out birthday candles, the two of us at the beach building sandcastles. I looked at photos from her teenage years, her high school graduation, her going to prom, me helping her move into her college dorm. I looked at photos from her wedding, me crying tears of joy as I walked her down the aisle, the mother-daughter dance at the reception. In every photo, we were smiling. We looked happy. We looked like we loved each other. What happened? When did my daughter stop being that little girl who thought I was her hero? When did she start seeing me as just a source of money? Was it when she got married and started having financial pressures? Was it gradual over years? Or was it sudden? Or had she always been this way, and I just never noticed because I'd never said no to her before? I thought back over our relationship. Had I spoiled her? Had I given her everything she wanted without making her work for anything? Maybe I had. Maybe I'd created this. Maybe by always saying yes, by always bailing her out, by always being there with my checkbook, I taught her that my love came with money attached. And now, when I finally said no, she didn't know how to handle it. But that didn't excuse her behavior. She was a grown woman. She was responsible for her own choices. I closed the photo albums and made a decision. Tomorrow, I was going to do something I should have done weeks ago. I was going to start my chemotherapy. I was going to fight for whatever time I had left. And I was going to spend that time with people who actually loved me for me, not for my money. If Jessica wanted to fight me in court, let her fight. If she wanted to try to have me declared incompetent, let her try. I wasn't backing down. I wasn't changing the will. And I wasn't going to spend my last months being manipulated by my own daughter. But what I didn't know was that Jessica had one more card to play, one more desperate attempt to get what she wanted. And what she did next would force me to make the hardest decision of my life. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe, like, turn on the bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. This morning, I woke up to the sound of my doorbell ringing repeatedly. Someone was pressing it over and over, urgently. I looked at my clock, 7:30 a.m. I put on my robe and went to the door. Through the peephole, I saw Jessica standing on my porch, but she wasn't alone. She had brought two people with her, a woman in her 40s wearing business casual clothes with a clipboard, and a man in his 50s in a suit. My stomach dropped. These weren't friends. These were professionals of some kind. I opened the door. Jessica, what is this? Mom, this is Dr. Sandra Williams, Jessica said, gesturing to the woman. She's a social worker from Adult Protective Services, and this is Gerald Foster. He's a court-appointed guardian evaluator. What? I said, my heart racing. Why are they here? Because I filed a petition for emergency guardianship, Jessica said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were determined. I told them that you're terminally ill and not making rational decisions, that you're vulnerable to exploitation, that you need someone to protect your interests. You did what? I said, feeling panic rising. Dr. Williams stepped forward. Mrs. Martinez, we're here to conduct a wellness check and evaluate whether you're capable of managing your own affairs. I'm perfectly capable, I said. This is insane. Jessica, how could you do this? I'm doing this because I love you, Jessica said, but her words felt hollow. Mom, you're sick. You're not thinking clearly. You changed your will and cut out your only daughter. That's not normal behavior. It's evidence that you need help. It's evidence that I'm tired of being manipulated, I said. Mrs. Martinez, may we come in? Gerald Foster asked. We'd like to assess your living conditions and ask you some questions. And if I say no, I asked. Then we'll have to report that you refuse to cooperate, Dr. Williams said, which won't look good for your case. I felt trapped. If I refused, they'd use it against me. If I let them in, they'd look for any reason to declare me incompetent. Fine, I said, stepping aside. Come in. The three of them entered my house. Jessica stood by the door with her arms crossed, while Dr. Williams and Mr. Foster walked through my living room, looking around, taking notes. How long have you lived here? Dr. Williams asked. 40 years, I said. And you live alone? Mr. Foster asked. Yes, I said. Who helps you with daily tasks, Doctor? Williams asked. Shopping, cooking, cleaning. I do it myself, I said. I'm perfectly capable. At 78 with stage 4 cancer, Mr. Foster asked skeptically. I'm sick, not helpless, I said. I can take care of myself. They continued walking through my house. opening my refrigerator, looking in my cabinets, checking my bathroom for medications. "I see you have quite a few prescription bottles," Dr. Williams noted. "Are you taking all of these as prescribed?" "Yes," I said. "My doctor prescribed them. I take them exactly as directed." "Can you tell me what each medication is for?" Mr. Foster asked. I rattled off my medications: blood pressure, cholesterol, pain medication for the cancer, anti-nausea medication for the chemotherapy I was about to start. "And you manage all of these yourself?" Dr. Williams asked. "No one helps you organize them or remind you to take them?" "I use a pill organizer," I said, showing them the weekly pill box on my counter. "I'm organized and responsible." They made more notes. "Mrs. Martinez, we understand you recently changed your will," Mr. Foster said. "Can you tell us about that?" I glanced at Jessica, who was watching me intently. "I changed my will to leave my estate to my nephew Carlos instead of my daughter," I said. "Why?" Dr. Williams asked. "Because Carlos has been there for me," I said. "He visits regularly. He helps me when I need it. He treats me with love and respect. My daughter cut off contact with me when I wouldn't give her money." "That's not what happened," Jessica interjected. "I was upset because you refused to help me when I needed you. I was going through a difficult time and you turned your back on me." "I didn't turn my back on you," I said. "I refused to sell my house to give you $100,000. There's a difference." "Mrs. Martinez," Mr. Foster said, "your daughter has expressed concern that you were unduly influenced by your nephew to change your will. Is that true?" "Absolutely not," I said firmly. "Carlos didn't even know I was planning to change my will until after I'd done it. This was entirely my decision." "But doesn't it seem unusual," Dr. Williams said gently, "to completely disinherit your only child, especially when you're terminally ill? Most parents would want to make sure their children are taken care of." "Most parents have children who care about them for more than just their money," I said. "Jessica made it clear that our relationship was conditional on me giving her what she wanted. Why should I reward that behavior?" "Because I'm your daughter," Jessica said, her voice rising. "Because you're supposed to love me unconditionally. You're supposed to take care of me." "And what about you taking care of me?" I shot back. "Where were you for the past 4 months? Where were you when I was diagnosed with cancer and couldn't even call you because you'd changed your number?" "Mrs. Martinez, please calm down," Dr. Williams said. "We're just trying to understand the situation." They asked me more questions about my daily routine, about my medical care, about my finances, about my relationship with Jessica and Carlos. After about an hour, they finally finished. "Thank you for your cooperation, Mrs. Martinez," Mr. Foster said. "We'll be submitting our report to the court within the next few days." "And what will your report say?" I asked. "We can't discuss that with you," Dr. Williams said. "But the judge will make a determination based on our findings." After they left, Jessica lingered at the door. "I hope you understand why I had to do this," Jessica said. "You did this to try to control my money," I said. "Don't pretend this is about protecting me." "It is about protecting you," Jessica insisted. "Mom, you're being taken advantage of by Carlos. Can't you see that? He's manipulating you into leaving him everything." "Carlos has been nothing but kind to me," I said. "The only person trying to manipulate me is you." "Fine," Jessica said coldly. "Believe what you want. But when the court declares you incompetent and appoints me as your guardian, I'll have control over your finances. And I'll make sure your money is used properly." "You mean you'll make sure you get it?" I said. "I'm your daughter," Jessica said. "I deserve it more than Carlos does." She left. I stood in my empty house, shaking. Jessica had actually done it. She'd called Adult Protective Services and accused me of being incompetent. She'd brought strangers into my home to evaluate me like I was a child who couldn't take care of herself. All for money. I called Robert Patterson immediately. "Robert, Jessica just brought a social worker and guardian evaluator to my house," I said, explaining what had happened. "I was afraid she might do this," Robert said grimly. Helen, this is serious. If the court appoints Jessica as your guardian, she'll have control over your finances and medical decisions. She could potentially override your will. Can she do that? I asked, horrified. If she's your guardian, she has significant power, Robert said. But Helen, don't panic. We'll fight this. We'll get you that psychiatric evaluation I mentioned. We'll document your competence. We'll show the court that you're perfectly capable of managing your own affairs. What if I lose? I asked. Then we appeal, Robert said. But Helen, I'm not going to let that happen. I promise you we'll fight this with everything we have. That afternoon, Carlos came over. I'd called him and told him what Jessica had done. Aunt Helen, this is insane, Carlos said, sitting at my kitchen table. She's really trying to have you declared incompetent. Yes, I said, and it's my fault. I never should have told you about the will. You never should have told Jessica. I had to tell her, Carlos said. She's your daughter. She deserved to know you have cancer. But now she's using it against me, I said. She's using my illness as evidence that I'm not capable of making my own decisions. Aunt Helen, I feel terrible about this, Carlos said. If I'd known she'd react this way, I never would have said anything. And honestly, maybe you shouldn't leave me everything. Maybe you should split it between Jessica and me. That might make her back off. No, I said firmly. Carlos, don't you see? If I give in now, it proves that she can bully me into doing what she wants. It proves that threats and manipulation work. I won't reward that behavior. But is it worth going to court over? Carlos asked. Aunt Helen, you're dying. You have 6 months. Do you really want to spend that time fighting with Jessica in court? I don't want to fight, I said, but I won't be controlled. If Jessica wants a fight, she'll get one. Carlos sighed. I just hate seeing you go through this. You should be spending your last months in peace, not dealing with lawyers and court hearings. Then Jessica should have thought of that before she tried to have me declared incompetent, I said. We sat in silence for a moment. Aunt Helen, can I ask you something? Carlos said. Do you think there's any chance of fixing things with Jessica? Any way to rebuild your relationship? I don't know, I admitted. Part of me wants to. She's my daughter. I love her. But Carlos, she's made it clear that she only wants me in her life if she's getting money. How do I have a relationship with someone like that? Maybe she's just desperate, Carlos suggested. You said she and Brandon are in serious debt. Maybe once their financial situation improves, she'll be able to see things more clearly. Or maybe this is who she really is, I said. Maybe I just never saw it before because I always gave her what she wanted. Do you regret changing the will? Carlos asked. I thought about it. No, I said finally. I don't regret it. What I regret is that it was necessary. I regret that my daughter cares more about my money than about me, but changing the will, that was the right decision. That evening, I decided to write Jessica a letter. A real letter on paper that I would mail to her. I needed to say things that I couldn't say in person or over email. I sat at my desk and wrote, Dear Jessica, I'm writing this letter because I need you to understand something. I need you to understand why I changed my will and why I won't change it back, no matter what you do. When you were born, I promised myself that I would give you everything I never had. I would make sure you had opportunities. I would make sure you never wanted for anything. I would make sure you knew you were loved. And I kept that promise. I worked 2 jobs to send you to good schools. I saved for your college education. I helped you with your first apartment, your wedding, your down payment on your house. I gave and gave and gave because that's what mothers do for their children. But somewhere along the way, Jessica, you stopped seeing me as your mother. You started seeing me as a bank. As someone whose value was measured in dollars instead of love. When you came to me asking for $100,000, I said no. Not because I don't love you, not because I don't care about your struggles, but because I needed to know that our relationship was about more than money. And Jessica, you proved to me that it wasn't. When I said no, you cut me out of your life. You changed your number. You wouldn't answer my calls. You made it clear that without money, I had no value to you. Do you know what that felt like? To realize that your only child didn't really love you. to realize that you were only wanted for what you could provide. And now I'm dying. I have 6 months left to live. And instead of spending that time with me, instead of trying to rebuild our relationship, you're trying to have me declared incompetent so you can control my money. Do you see how that looks? Do you see why I can't trust you? Do you see why I changed my will? Jessica, I would give anything to have the relationship back that we used to have. When you were a little girl, you thought I hung the moon. You told me you loved me every day. You hugged me spontaneously. You wanted to spend time with me just because you enjoyed my company. I miss that. I miss you. I miss the daughter who loved me for me. But that daughter is gone. The woman you've become is someone I don't recognize. Someone who values money over relationships. Someone who would rather fight me in court than simply love me. If you want to contest the will, go ahead. If you want to try to have me declared incompetent, go ahead. If you want to spend your mother's last months on earth fighting over money, that's your choice. But Jessica, I want you to know something. Even after everything you've done, I still love you. You're still my daughter. You're still the baby I held in my arms and promised to protect. But I won't be manipulated. I won't be controlled. And I won't reward behavior that treats me like an ATM instead of a human being. If you ever decide that you want a relationship with me that isn't based on money, my door is open. I would love nothing more than to spend my remaining time with you, rebuilding what we've lost. But it has to be real. It has to be genuine. It can't be an act you're putting on to get back into the will. The choice is yours, Jessica, but choose soon, because I don't have much time left. I love you. I always have. I always will. But I love myself too, and I deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. Mom. I folded the letter, put it in an envelope, addressed it to Jessica, and put a stamp on it. Tomorrow, I would mail it. Maybe she would read it and have a change of heart. Or maybe she would use it as evidence in court that I was emotional and not thinking clearly. At this point, I didn't care. I'd said what I needed to say. 2 days after the Adult Protective Services visit, I went to see Dr. Michael Chen, a psychiatrist that Robert Patterson had arranged for me to see. Dr. Chen's office was in a medical building downtown. He was a man in his 60s with kind eyes and a calm demeanor. Mrs. Martinez, thank you for coming in, Dr. Chen said. I understand you're going through some family difficulties. That's putting it mildly, I said. For the next 2 hours, Dr. Chen evaluated me. He asked me questions about my memory, my judgment, my daily functioning. He had me do cognitive tests, remembering lists of words, solving problems, identifying patterns. He asked about my medical history, my cancer diagnosis, my medications. And he asked about Jessica, about our relationship, about why I'd changed the will. I told him everything, about Jessica's pressure for money, about her cutting me off, about her trying to have me declared incompetent. How does all of this make you feel? Dr. Chen asked. Heartbroken, I admitted. Angry, betrayed, but also determined. I'm not going to let her bully me into changing my mind. Do you think your decision to change the will was influenced by your cancer diagnosis? Dr. Chen asked. Some people, when facing their own mortality, make impulsive decisions they wouldn't normally make. This wasn't impulsive, I said. I thought about it carefully, and honestly, the cancer diagnosis made me realize I don't have time to waste on people who don't truly care about me. If anything, the cancer gave me clarity. Dr. Chen made notes. Mrs. Martinez, based on our conversation today and the tests I've administered, I can tell you that you show no signs of cognitive impairment. Your memory is excellent for your age. Your judgment appears sound. Your reasoning is clear and logical. So I'm not incompetent, I asked. Not even close, Dr. Chen said. You're a sharp, intelligent woman who is making rational decisions based on her life circumstances. The fact that your daughter disagrees with those decisions doesn't make them incompetent. It just makes them unpopular with her. I felt relief wash over me. Will you put that in a report? I'll write a comprehensive evaluation, Dr. Chen said. If this goes to court, I'm prepared to testify that you are fully capable of managing your own affairs. In fact, I'd be surprised if any judge would rule otherwise based on what I've seen today." "Thank you," I said, feeling like I could finally breathe. When I left Dr. Chen's office, I called Robert Patterson to tell him the good news. "That's excellent, Helen," Robert said. "That evaluation will be crucial if Jessica pushes forward with the guardianship petition. Now she'll have to overcome professional testimony that you're completely competent." "Do you think she'll back down?" I asked. "I hope so," Robert said, "because if she doesn't, she's going to lose, and it's going to cost her a lot in legal fees for nothing." But I had a feeling Jessica wouldn't back down. She'd come too far. She'd invested too much. She was all in now. And I was about to find out just how far she was willing to go. 1 week after my psychiatric evaluation, I received a notice from the court. Jessica had officially filed her petition for guardianship. There would be a hearing in 2 weeks. I sat in my living room holding that notice, feeling sick. My daughter was actually going through with it. She was going to stand in front of a judge and argue that her own mother was incompetent. But what happened in the days leading up to that hearing changed everything in ways I never expected. 10 days before the scheduled hearing, I received a package in the mail. No return address. Just my name and address written in handwriting I didn't recognize. Inside was a folder containing documents, financial documents, and a note that read, "Mrs. Martinez, I thought you should see these before the hearing. A concerned friend." I opened the folder and started reading. My hands began to shake. They were Jessica and Brandon's financial records, bank statements, credit card bills, loan documents. But what shocked me wasn't the debt. I already knew about that. What shocked me was the timeline. The documents showed that Jessica and Brandon's debt problems had started 5 years ago, not recently. 5 years of overspending. 5 years of living beyond their means. 5 years of accumulating credit card debt, taking out loans, refinancing their mortgage. And the documents showed something else. Over those 5 years, I had given Jessica money multiple times. $5,000 here to help with an emergency. $10,000 there for unexpected car repairs. $15,000 for medical bills. Looking at these statements, I could see that none of that money had gone to emergencies. It had gone to pay off credit cards that they then immediately charged back up, to make loan payments while they took out new loans, to cover their overspending while they continued to overspend. I'd been enabling their irresponsible behavior for years without even knowing it. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was a document dated 3 months ago, a consultation agreement with an elder law attorney named Marcus Webb. The consultation notes were in the folder. They read, "Client Jessica Patterson inquired about options for accessing mother's assets while mother is still living. Discussed guardianship as potential avenue. Client interested in pursuing guardianship on grounds of diminished capacity due to age and medical condition. Discussed strategy for documenting mother's incompetence. Client particularly interested in gaining control of mother's $800,000 estate. Recommended building case over several months before filing petition." I read it 3 times, each time feeling more betrayed. 3 months ago, before she even knew I had cancer, before I changed my will, Jessica had been consulting with a lawyer about how to take control of my money by having me declared incompetent. This had been her plan all along, the pressure to sell the house, the asking for $100,000, the cutting off contact when I said no. All of it had been building toward this moment. She'd been planning to take away my legal rights for 3 months. She just needed the right excuse. And my cancer diagnosis had given her that excuse. I called Robert Patterson immediately. "Robert, I just received financial documents that show Jessica has been planning this guardianship petition for months," I said, explaining what I'd found. "Helen, that's huge," Robert said. "Who sent you these documents?" "I don't know," I said. "It was anonymous." "My guess is someone in Brandon or Jessica's life who's uncomfortable with what they're doing," Robert said. "Maybe a family member, maybe a friend. Regardless, these documents show premeditation. They show this isn't about protecting you, it's about accessing your money. Can you bring those documents to my office?" "I'll come now," I said. The next day, armed with the evidence from the mysterious package and Dr. Chen's psychiatric evaluation, I decided to confront Jessica one final time. I drove to her house. Brandon's car wasn't there, just Jessica's. Good, I wanted to talk to her alone. I knocked on the door. Jessica answered, looking surprised to see me. "Mom, what are you doing here?" "We need to talk," I said. "Now." Jessica hesitated, then stepped aside to let me in. We sat in her living room. I pulled out the folder of documents and set it on the coffee table between us. "What's this?" Jessica asked. "Your financial records for the past 5 years," I said, "including the consultation notes from 3 months ago where you discussed with a lawyer how to have me declared incompetent so you could control my money." Jessica's face went pale. "Where did you get those?" "Someone who apparently has a conscience sent them to me," I said. "Jessica, you've been planning this for 3 months, before I changed my will, before I even knew I had cancer. You were already plotting to take away my legal rights." "That's not," Jessica started, but I cut her off. "Don't lie to me," I said. "I have the documents. I have the consultation notes in your own words. You told that lawyer that you were interested in accessing Mother's assets while Mother is still living. That you wanted to gain control of my $800,000 estate." Jessica looked down, unable to meet my eyes. "So this was never about helping me," I continued. "This was never about being concerned for my well-being. This was always about money, all of it. The pressure to sell the house, the demands for $100,000, cutting me off when I said no. All of it was leading to this, taking away my rights so you could control my money." "We were desperate," Jessica whispered. "So you decided to betray your own mother?" I asked. "Jessica, do you understand what you were planning to do? You were going to have me declared legally incompetent. You were going to take away my right to make my own decisions. You were going to control every aspect of my life, not to protect me, but to access my bank account." "We needed the money," Jessica said, tears starting to fall. "Mom, we're drowning. We're about to lose everything. I didn't know what else to do." "You could have been honest with me," I said. "You could have told me the truth about your financial situation 5 years ago. You could have asked for help in a real way instead of manipulating me. You could have done a lot of things. But instead, you chose to lie, manipulate, and plot to take away my legal rights." "I'm sorry," Jessica sobbed. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I never meant for it to go this far. It spiraled out of control." "No, Jessica," I said firmly. "It didn't spiral. You made choices, deliberate, calculated choices, and those choices have consequences." "What are you going to do?" Jessica asked, looking scared. "I'm going to that hearing next week," I said. "And I'm going to present these documents to the judge. I'm going to show that your guardianship petition isn't about protecting me. It's about controlling my money. And Jessica, you're going to lose. Not just the guardianship petition. You're going to lose all credibility. The judge is going to see exactly who you are." "Please don't," Jessica begged. "Mom, please. If you show those documents in court, everyone will know. Everyone will see what I tried to do. I'll be humiliated." "Good," I said coldly. "Maybe humiliation will teach you something that my love apparently never did, that other people aren't just resources for you to exploit." "I'm your daughter," Jessica cried. "How can you do this to me?" "I'm your mother," I said. "How could you do this to me?" I stood up to leave. "Wait," Jessica said desperately. "What if I drop the guardianship petition? What if I withdraw it right now? Can we forget all of this happened?" "You mean, can you avoid the consequences of your actions?" I said. "No, Jessica. Even if you withdraw the petition, I'm not changing my will. Even if you suddenly pretend to care about me, I know the truth. I know that for 5 years you've been lying to me and using me. I know that you were planning to take away my legal rights months before I changed my will. I know who you really are now, and I can't unknow that." "So that's it?" Jessica asked. "You're just giving up on me, on us?" "No, Jessica," I said. You gave up on us years ago when you decided I was worth more to you as a bank account than as a mother. I'm just finally accepting that reality." I walked out of her house. Jessica didn't follow me. 3 days before the hearing, Robert Patterson called me with news. "Helen, Jessica's attorney just filed a motion to withdraw the guardianship petition," Robert said. "It's over. She's dropping it." I felt a wave of relief, but also sadness. "Why now?" "My guess is she realized she couldn't win," Robert said. "We have Dr. Chen's evaluation proving you're competent. We have the documents showing her premeditation and financial motivation. If she went forward, the judge would likely sanction her for filing a frivolous petition. She's cutting her losses." "So the hearing is canceled?" I asked. "Yes," Robert confirmed. "Helen, you won, your will stands, your rights are protected, it's over." But it didn't feel like winning. It felt like losing my daughter all over again. The day before what would have been the hearing, I started chemotherapy. My oncologist, Dr. Sarah Patterson, no relation to Robert, had scheduled my first treatment. I went to the hospital alone. Carlos had offered to come with me, but I told him I wanted to do this by myself. As I sat in the chemotherapy infusion center, hooked up to an IV delivering toxic chemicals into my bloodstream to fight the cancer that was killing me, I thought about my life. I was 78 years old. I had maybe 6 months left, and I was spending those months fighting with my daughter over money. Was this really how I wanted to spend my final days? I thought about the letter I'd written to Jessica, about how I'd told her my door was always open if she wanted a real relationship. But I hadn't heard from her, not after our confrontation at her house, not after she withdrew the guardianship petition. Nothing. As the chemotherapy dripped into my veins, I made a decision. When this session was over, I was going to try one more time. I was going to reach out to Jessica and offer her a choice. Not about money, not about the will, but about us, about whether we could salvage any kind of relationship in the time I had left. After my treatment, feeling nauseous and weak, I drove home. I sat at my computer and wrote an email to Jessica. "Jessica, I'm writing this email from the hospital parking lot after my first chemotherapy treatment. I feel terrible physically, but that's not why I'm writing. I'm writing because I've been thinking about everything that's happened between us, and I've realized something. I don't want to spend my last months angry at you. I don't want my final memories of my daughter to be courtrooms and lawyers and betrayal. I know you withdrew the guardianship petition. I know you're probably humiliated and angry and hurt. I know you probably hate me right now for not changing my will. But Jessica, I don't hate you. Despite everything you've done, despite all the lies and manipulation, I still love you. You're my daughter. Nothing changes that. So I'm going to make you an offer. One final offer. I won't change my will. That decision is final. Carlos will inherit my estate, and I'm at peace with that decision. But what I will offer you is this: time. Whatever time I have left, I will share with you if you want it, not as a wealthy mother and an heir, but as two people who used to love each other trying to find our way back to something real. I don't expect you to visit me out of obligation or because you think you can change my mind about the will. If you come, it has to be because you genuinely want to spend time with me, because you love me as a person, not as a bank account. If you want this, call me. Come see me. Let's spend my remaining months rebuilding what we've lost. If you don't want this, I understand. I'll be sad, but I'll understand. And I'll spend my remaining time with Carlos and the people who do want to be in my life. The choice is yours, Jessica, but this is the last time I'm going to reach out. After this, the ball is entirely in your court. I love you. I always have. I always will. But I love myself too, and I deserve better than what you've given me. I hope you choose love over money, but if you don't, I'll survive. For however long I have left, I'll survive. Mom. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. Then I went home and waited. On what would have been the hearing date, I woke up feeling sick from the chemotherapy. I spent the morning in bed, too nauseous to eat. At noon, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello. Mom, it was Jessica's voice. She sounded like she'd been crying. Jessica, I said. I got your email, she said. I've read it about 20 times. And, I asked. And I don't know what to say, Jessica admitted. Mom, I've been so angry at you, so hurt that you cut me out of the will, so desperate to get that money because I thought it would solve all our problems. Money doesn't solve problems, Jessica, I said gently. It just creates new ones. I'm starting to realize that, Jessica said. Mom, Brandon and we've decided to file for bankruptcy. We can't keep living like this. We can't keep drowning in debt. We need to start over. I think that's a wise decision, I said. We're also selling our house, Jessica continued. We're going to downsize to something we can actually afford. We're going to live within our means. We're going to fix our financial mess without relying on anyone else to bail us out. Good, I said. And Mom, I want to apologize, Jessica said, her voice breaking. Not because I want back in the will. You made it clear that's not going to happen, and I accept that. I want to apologize because I'm genuinely sorry for how I've treated you, for seeing you as a source of money instead of as my mother, for trying to take away your rights, for all of it. I felt tears streaming down my face. Thank you for saying that. Can I come see you? Jessica asked. Not to talk about money or the will, just to see you, to spend time with you, however much time you have left. Yes, I said. I'd like that very much. I'll come this afternoon, Jessica said. Is that okay? That's perfect, I said. That afternoon, Jessica came to my house. She came alone, no Brandon, no lawyers, no agenda. She walked in and immediately started crying. Mom, you look so sick. The chemotherapy is rough, I admitted, but I'm managing. We sat in my living room, and for the first time in months, we just talked, really talked. Jessica told me about her financial problems, about how she and Brandon had gotten in over their heads, about the stress and fear and desperation. I convinced myself that you should help us because you're my mother, Jessica said, that you owed us that help. But Mom, I was wrong. You don't owe me anything. You already gave me everything, a childhood, an education, love, support. The fact that you won't bail me out of my adult problems doesn't make you a bad mother. It makes you a smart one. I wish you'd realized that earlier, I said. Me too, Jessica said. Mom, I wasted 4 months being angry at you. 4 months I could have spent with you. And now you're dying and those 4 months are gone forever. I can't get them back. No, you can't, I said. But we can make the most of whatever time is left. I want that, Jessica said. But Mom, I need you to know, I'm not here because I think I can change your mind about the will. Carlos deserves to inherit. He was there for you when I wasn't. I accept that. Good, I said, because the will isn't changing. I know, Jessica said. And honestly, I'm okay with that now, because I've realized something. Having a relationship with you for whatever time you have left is worth more than any inheritance. If I have to choose between money and you, I choose you. I started crying. That's all I ever wanted to hear. We hugged. For the first time in 4 months, I held my daughter in my arms. It wasn't perfect. The hurt was still there, the betrayal still stung, but it was a start. Over the next 2 months, Jessica visited me twice a week. She'd come over and we'd talk, sometimes about serious things, sometimes about nothing in particular. She helped me with grocery shopping when the chemotherapy made me too weak. She drove me to doctor's appointments. She sat with me when I felt too sick to do anything but lie on the couch. And slowly, we started to heal. It wasn't the relationship we'd had before that was gone forever, but it was something new, something honest, something real. Jessica also kept her promise about her finances. She and Brandon filed for bankruptcy. They sold their house and moved into a small apartment. They started living within their means. It's hard, Jessica admitted one afternoon as we sat in my living room. We're living paycheck to paycheck. We can't afford the things we used to buy. But Mom, it's also freeing. We're not drowning anymore. We're not constantly stressed about money. We're learning to be happy with what we have. I'm proud of you, I said. "Mom, can I ask you something?" Jessica said. "Of course." "Do you think you'll ever forgive me?" Jessica asked. "For everything I did?" I thought about it. "I don't know," I said honestly. "I want to, but Jessica, you hurt me deeply. You tried to take away my rights. You saw me as an asset instead of a person. That's not something I can just forget." "I understand," Jessica said quietly. "But," I continued, "I'm working on it. Every time you visit, every time you show me that you care about me for me and not for my money, it helps. You can't undo what you did, but you can show me that you've changed. And you're doing that." "I'll keep doing it," Jessica promised. "For however long you're here, I'll keep showing you." 4 months after Jessica started visiting again, my health took a turn for the worse. The chemotherapy wasn't working. The cancer was spreading. Dr. Reynolds told me I had maybe 4 to 6 weeks left. I called Jessica and Carlos and told them both. "Mom, I'm taking time off work," Jessica said immediately. "I'm going to be with you every day. However much time you have left, I'm going to be there." And she was. For the next month, Jessica came to my house every single day. She helped me when I was too weak to walk. She made me food when I could barely eat. She sat with me when I was scared. Carlos visited several times a week. The two of them, my daughter and my nephew, took turns caring for me. One afternoon, when I was having a particularly difficult day, Jessica sat beside my bed holding my hand. "Mom, I need to tell you something," Jessica said. "What is it?" I asked weakly. "I want you to know that these past 4 months with you have been the most valuable thing I've ever received from you," Jessica said, crying. "Not the house, not the money, not the things you bought me growing up. This time. This real, honest time together. This is the inheritance that actually matters." "Jessica," I said, squeezing her hand. "I'm sorry it took me so long to understand that," Jessica continued. "I'm sorry I wasted so much time being angry about money when I could have been spending it loving you. But Mom, I want you to know, I get it now. I finally understand what you were trying to teach me." "I love you," I whispered. "I love you too, Mom," Jessica said. "And I'm going to be okay, not because of money, but because you taught me what really matters before it was too late." On my last day, I was in hospice at home. Jessica was on one side of my bed. Carlos was on the other. I could barely speak, but I managed to whisper to them both, "Thank you for being here." "Thank you for giving me another chance," Jessica said, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you for everything, Aunt Helen," Carlos said. I looked at my daughter, the daughter who had hurt me so deeply but who had, in the end, chosen love over money, who had spent my final months showing me that she had changed, that she understood. And I looked at my nephew, the nephew who had been there when I needed him, who had never asked for anything, who had earned everything I was leaving him. "Take care of each other," I whispered. "We will," they both promised. That evening, with my daughter holding one hand and my nephew holding the other, I closed my eyes for the last time. 6 months after Helen's death, Jessica and Carlos sat together in Robert Patterson's office for the reading of Helen's final will. Robert opened the document and began to read. "I, Helen Martinez, being of sound mind." He continued reading through the legal language. Then he got to the part about the estate distribution. "To my nephew Carlos Rodriguez, I leave my house and all remaining financial assets, as previously stated in my revised will." Carlos nodded. He'd expected this. But Robert kept reading. "However, I am adding one additional bequest that I never told anyone about." Jessica and Carlos both looked up, surprised. "To my daughter Jessica Putson, I leave the contents of Safety Deposit Box 347 at First National Bank. The key is in my jewelry box." Jessica's eyes widened. I didn't know she had a safety deposit box. "Neither did I," Carlos said. After the meeting, Jessica went to First National Bank with the key. She opened Safety Deposit Box 347. Inside was a letter and a check. The letter read, "My dearest Jessica, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and I hope I truly hope that our last months together were filled with love instead of anger. I'm writing this letter on the day you came back into my life, the day you chose me over money. I wanted to do something to acknowledge that choice, but I couldn't tell you while I was alive because I needed to know that your love was real, that it wasn't motivated by hope of reward. I hope by now you've proven to yourself what you proved to me in my final months, that you've changed, that you've learned what really matters. So here's my final gift to you, $50,000. It's not the $800,000 you originally wanted. It's not your full inheritance. Carlos is still getting the house and most of the money because he earned it. But Jessica, you earned this. You earned it by showing up, by caring for me, by choosing love over money, by learning the lesson I was trying to teach you. Use this money wisely, not to buy things you can't afford, not to maintain a lifestyle beyond your means, but to help rebuild after your bankruptcy, to give yourself a small cushion, to invest in your future in a responsible way. I'm so proud of who you became in my final months. I'm so grateful that I got to see you change. I'm so thankful that we found our way back to each other before it was too late. You were always my daughter, but in the end, you became my friend too, and that means more to me than I can ever express. I love you, Jessica, forever and always. Mom. P.S. I changed the will to add this 3 weeks before I died, when I knew for certain that your love was genuine. You passed the test. You chose right. I'm so very proud of you. Jessica stood in the bank, reading the letter over and over, crying. Her mother had left her money after all, not because Jessica demanded it, not because Jessica manipulated for it, but because Jessica had earned it by choosing love over money. Helen had given Jessica one final test, and Jessica had passed. And in passing that test, Jessica had gained something worth far more than $800,000. She'd gained the knowledge that in the end, she'd been the daughter her mother deserved. This story teaches us Spukla's love should never be conditional on money. Spukla's parents don't owe adult children financial bailouts. Spukla's inheritance is a privilege, not a right. Spukla's true love shows up without expecting payment. Spukla's it's never too late to change, but time is limited. Spukla's relationships matter more than money. Spukla's standing firm on principles is worth the pain. Spukla's redemption is possible if the change is genuine. If this story moved you, kindly subscribe for more powerful family stories and smash that like button. Also turn on notifications. Drop a comment. Did Helen make the right decision? Did Jessica deserve the $50,000 in the end? Where are you watching from? United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Australia, Jamaica, Philippines? Remember, adult children are not entitled to their parents' money. Financial boundaries are healthy. Love and inheritance are separate things. It's okay to say no to family. Change requires consistent action, not just words. Reconciliation is possible but requires genuine remorse. Your final month should be spent with people who love you for you. Money reveals character. Choose relationships over inheritance. It's never too late to make things right, but don't wait until it is. Thank you for following Helen and Jessica's journey from betrayal to redemption.